Hello and welcome to Funny Science Fiction, the live edition. Hello and welcome everybody to Funny Science Fiction, our live show. Kathleen and I are here tonight to bring you some extra superciliousness, but we also want to remind you that this is the podcast that makes you wish that those memory erasing devices from Men in Black weren't fictional.
I get that. Yeah. All right. But before we get into tonight's show, we need to say thanks to our show sponsors, River City Teas and Level Up Lightsabers. Let's watch a quick video for each.
All right. Here's River City Teas. With over 700 designs to choose from, River City Teas has something for everyone. Need some new nerd merch? River City Teas has you covered. Need funny or sarcastic designs? River City Teas has you covered. Are you looking for a new logo or custom design? Whether you need 1 or 100, River City Teas has you covered. With multiple colors and options for each and every design. With things to choose from like shirts, hoodies, phone cases, coffee mugs, and so much more. Be sure to follow River City Teas on Facebook and Instagram. If you do, you'll get the latest on designs and information about upcoming sales. River City Teas. Let's make a shirt together. And one more quick one for the coolest...
Everybody's favorite.
Yeah, exactly. The coolest lightsaber video you're about to watch today, tomorrow, next week, whenever.
Still love that one.
Yeah, it's still cool. Always fun to watch. All right. So, yeah, that's River City Teas and Level Up Lightsabers. And thank you, Facebook user, for saying River City Teas is the best. I agree. They make fun stuff. I'm wearing one of their shirts. Can't really see it. It says home with a mission.
I am also wearing a River City Teas t-shirt.
There you go.
I will not be an asset physically. I have a podcast body.
There you go.
I love my shirt.
All right, yeah, and remember, if you're commenting through StreamYard, whether on Facebook, there, make sure that you give Facebook the authorization to use your name. Otherwise, we just get to see you as Facebook user. And although we love Facebook user, we love knowing your names as well. And I started posting these during the videos, but we'll show these real quick. Jason Taylor says, "Yes, love you guys. Love you too, Jason. Love your show, Three Geeks Podcast. If you guys haven't checked them out, I strongly suggest that you do. Kathleen and I have both been guests on that show, and we both enjoy that show immensely.
They both said that, or they said that they would have us both back too. So,
well, they're just gluttons.
We will question their sanity later.
Exactly. All right, and then of course, Kathleen is psychedelic.
I decided to go to have it match my hair.
There you go. John says that this is the highlight of his Monday evening, mainly because he gets to look at you on camera, but we'll let that slide for the moment.
Because I put makeup on. It's the only time I wear makeup.
And speaking of hair, thank you for noticing, Jason. You're too kind. All right. So, and one more from John. I replaced 75% of my t-shirts with River City Teas. They're phenomenal. All right. Well, we'll take that. All right. So we got a couple of guests waiting for us in our green room. They've been patient. They've been kind. They've been nice. I suppose we should let them into our silliness, and we've told them to wait. So they waited. They're still there.
They are still there? They stayed?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Crazy, isn't it?
I know. So our guests tonight are a couple of distinguished authors who've had nothing better to do on a Monday night. So they're here for some games and some laughs, and we're going to do our best to not disappoint them. I don't think it's going to work, but we're going to try.
We're going to try. You know what? That's the goal every week, to see how far we can go with our guests before we realize, well, they're not coming back. But it hasn't happened yet. Everybody says
we haven't had anybody leave in the middle of a show yet.
Not yet. I mean, there's always the first time. Maybe that'll happen tonight with our guests, Mitch Benn and David Perlmutter.
Hello.
Hello, Mitch. How are you?
I'm fine. I promise I won't leave. I can't promise I'll stay awake. It's just gone midnight here.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm in the U of K for my sins, and indeed for everybody's sins just at the moment. But yes, I'm looking forward to this. I was listening to the deluxe lightsaber guy one a couple of days ago. Yeah. I haven't had it because I remember, when some of us are old enough to remember that toy lightsabers used to be inflatable and not make sounds. That's how old some of us are.
and some of us couldn't even get those, and so we had to wait for our moms to get done with the gift wrap tubes and make our own.
Yes. Well, something I've often thought about, the really started, I guess, with the Phantom Menace toys at the end of the 90s. But when they started putting those little chips in them to make the noises, I thought to myself, this is depriving children of an essential life skill, which is learning how to make these sounds for yourself.
Exactly.
It's my entire, a whole generation of kids is now growing up that has never learned how to go. And it's very important to do slurp when you switch it off.
Oh, of course.
Exactly. Well, you got to have that noise.
Yeah, exactly.
Mitch,
TIE Fighter kind of hurts. The TIE Fighter noise is kind of hard on the larynx. Yeah.
That was impressively good, though. This might be my favorite thing so far. All right. Mitch, by the way, John wants to say that he loves your shirt. We always need more guitars.
The weird thing about this shirt, this I need more guitars t-shirt, I can't figure out why only the Gretsch is a lefty. they're all right-handers except for the Gretsch. Why would you have all these guitars and then got one left hand? It's very weird. Anyway, never mind.
I wonder if
I have genuine. I was talking about this with an old friend of mine on Facebook. Facebook is so weird. The only one of my old school friends. I'm born and raised in Liverpool. And I currently live in London. I'm kind of ethnically Scottish. But the only one of my old school friends I'm in regular contact with lives in North Carolina because it's the Facebook age, So, and he was kind of the guy who taught me to play guitar when we were kids. So, hi, Bill, if you're out there. But we were having the "How many guitars do you have?" conversation on Facebook, and I realized I do not know. More than 10, less than 30. I do not know, but they all serve a purpose. I don't just buy any guitar like the look of. They're always filling some kind of gap in the arsenal. So something which is not yet covered by the dozens that I already have. But it's...
Somehow, for some reason, I see John at home taking notes. This is how I can argue that next guitar with Kathleen.
Yeah, he's gonna need a bigger house.
There you go. All right, so hey, Mitch, before David joins us here, let's talk a little bit about your books in general. What made you want to be an author, and what do you like to write about?
I've kind of always wanted to be. It's one of the, because I do a lot of different things. I've been a stand-up comedian in Britain since the 90s. I did a lot of radio comedy. I was on quite a big deal comedy show on BBC Radio called The Now Show for about 17 years. I've done proper acting and everything. Just one of the few things I do which is actually fulfilling a boyhood ambition is writing science fiction novels.
Okay.
Everything else is kind of stuff that I turned out to be quite good at that I kind of got distracted into. But the sci-fi novels is something I genuinely always wanted to do as a kid. And to be perfectly honest, it never occurred to me that it would be anything other than sci-fi. I'd probably be making a lot more. I have a comedy friend, a guy for the comedy circuit in Britain called Martin Billingham, who got off the comedy circuit just as I was getting into it because he started writing very successful detective novels. And he's making so much money on those because that's where all the money is. It's in writing detective novels and everything. And so if to a certain extent, I kind of wish that I had something like that in me because it would be a hell of a lot more commercial. But instead of which, I write this sort of esoteric, whimsical sci-fi. Particularly kid-friendly, esoteric, whimsical sci-fi, because I guess that's just what comes out when I start typing. You're not really consulted about that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think with that which comes out when you start typing is that which comes out when you start typing. You don't really get to choose. But I've had this bizarre kind of roller coaster thing with my writing, which is, as those people who follow me will know, that I wrote I was commissioned by a sort of a reputable publishing house here in Britain back in like 2011 to write a sci-fi trilogy, and I wrote the first two, and then they dropped me and didn't publish the third one. So I found myself in this sort of bizarre sort of wilderness, and it took me really 6 years to get it moving again. I had like 6 years of dead ends and false starts trying to get it moving again, and it's all up and running again now, and has been since the end of last year. All 3 books are now out. I'm supposed to be working hard on a 4th, which is not part of the trilogy. It's a whole new show, a whole new book, whole new story. What I'm actually doing at the moment is because now I'm putting these out myself. They call it indie publishing. They used to call it vanity publishing, but it is self-publishing.
Right.
But it's become that's become a different beast in the past few years, of which I'm sure we'll talk more in a minute. But what I'm doing at the moment is I'm trying to edit the audiobook of book 3. Because the first 2 came out in audio back in the day, and the old publisher was kind enough to sell me those recordings. So I've been able to, after a few tweaks just to bring them up to date, to re-release the original recordings that I made back in 2013 and 2014 in books 1 and 2. But of course, book 3, I'm entirely on my own. Now I've got all the kit that I need, and I've got all the equipment that I don't quite have a completely isolated sound space to record it, but I was recording it kind of for the whole of last week, and I'm now editing it, and I'm now wishing I was nicer to the guy who edited the first.
Always be nice to the audio engineers.
Yeah. Yes. Don't get me wrong. I was perfectly nice to him. I'm just now wishing I was actually obsequious to him, and sort of nice to the point of overbearing. Because
it wasn't that you weren't nice, but you could have been nicer. Yeah,
yes,
gotcha.
Yes. Oh my God, editing audiobooks is a nutache. It really is. It's things you don't really think, because obviously I've been editing podcasts and stuff for years, but there is a different kind of sound aesthetic for audiobooks. For example, you have to cut out all the in-breaths every time you begin a sentence, because I've got this beautiful new microphone. I've got this Rode NTA1, which is just noiseless, and suddenly I realized just how crappy every microphone I've ever owned was. Now that I've got this thing, which is just noiseless, absolutely. But what it does mean is it picks up all the ambient noise. Like I'm recording it in the cupboard under my girlfriend's stairs, right? She's got like one of those, walk-in closets under the staircase in her flat.
Oh, very Harry Potter of you.
No, it is. It's totally Harry Potter, and because it was the most enclosed space we could find, and I've stapled like old removal guy blankets to every inch of wall space to deaden it, and then I set this microphone up, and it's only when I set this ridiculously good microphone, it's only when I set this microphone up I realized that the electricity meter is in there and actually makes a sound, which I hadn't picked up with my ears at all. And then this.
But of course, the electricity meter would find it. Sure.
Oh, there it is. There it is. So I ended up getting this big packing crate and gluing layers of carpet to this packing crate and stuffing it around the electricity meter to dampen that. So now I can't hear that. So nice. So making this audiobook has been, all told, but in terms of just sheer mindless graft, probably harder work than writing book 3 was. But hopefully book 1 has just been republished in audio. Book 2 will be republished in audio anytime soon. And then hopefully book 3 will be ready to go out in a few weeks' time. But the thing is, because I'm an actor and because I did a lot of stuff on the radio, one of my jobs on radio comedy, so I used to be one of the resident funny voice guys on this radio show, and I do quite a lot of impressions. I do impressions well enough so you can tell who it's meant to be. I'm not one of these guys who's up to sort of prank call level impressions where you can actually pass yourself off as a famous person. But what that does mean is the audiobooks for the first 2 were quite popular because I don't just read it out. I sort of enact it, and I cast the supporting characters among various actors that I can do, and then see if people can spot who it is I'm doing, and so it's actually recording it has been quite good fun, but oh my God, editing it is extraordinary pain in the. I forget how much I'm allowed to swear on this, but anyway,
a pain in the backside.
Pain in the backside will have to do. Yes.
There you go.
This is
All right,
PG-13 podcast.
Yeah. Let's take a moment and let's.
You could probably get away with a little more, but that's just because I'm going to be like.
Let's not be edgy just for the sake of it.
Oh.
There you go.
There's nothing
All right,
more
let's go.
than someone being edgy for the sake of it.
Let's go ahead and bring in our other guest. This is David Perlmutter, everybody. And David, I'm sure I just slotted. I'm gonna say I'm pretty sure I just slotted your last name. So say that one more time. Say it one more time for me.
Perlmutter.
Perlmutter. Okay. Excellent.
Way to remember it is mother of pearl in German.
There you go.
I was going to say it looked German. It was just missing an umlaut.
Who's it? What's it?
I said it looked German. It was just missing an umlaut.
The two little dot
heavy
things?
metal dots. But that would make it Perlmutter, which would mean something else, wouldn't it? So,
Yes.
German.
All right. So, David, you heard the question we asked of Mitch. At least I think you did. So before we get into our total of silliness with you guys tonight, what made you want to be an author, David? And what do you like to write about?
Well, I think it had a lot to do with me being interested in animation as a kid, like the way the stories were told there.
Mm-hmm.
Like very, I was always interested in reading as well, of course, but I didn't really think about it as a career until I started becoming an adult and wondering what I was going to do.
Okay.
I mean, my other job is being a historian of animation. I read 2 books so far about animation. So like they say, you write what you know. So it's a lot of what my fiction is kind of what a lot of the animated programs that I like would be if they were literature.
Okay.
Idea so I dabble in like a lot of things, a lot of types of prose fiction that weren't really considered to be prose fiction until fairly recently, like superhero narratives and
all right,
heavy humor comedy stuff, obviously, as I'm on this show. And a lot of thought and consideration put into the idea of what animated cartoon characters would be like if they were fully rounded individual people as we are in the real world.
Okay.
And what sort of consequences there would be.
All right. I like that.
And also doing sort of the kind of narratives and ideas that would be animation if they were on a screen and not on paper.
Okay. Well, very good. All right. So, in a few moments here, what we'll do is we'll circle back to what you guys are writing, and we're going to give you guys a chance to talk a little bit more about your books and tell people where they can find your books and all that kind of stuff. So that hopefully after people have gotten to know a little bit about you and see the silly side of you, that hopefully they'll want to go buy some of your books and read up on those things. That's our hope anyway.
Yes, I hope so too.
All right. So should we play a game? We have a game.
Oh, yeah.
I like games.
All right.
Games.
All right. So for tonight's festivities, since we have authors among us, I have never claimed to be an author, nor will I ever claim to be an author. I just talk a lot. That's what I do. So since you guys,
he just says them.
that's going to be on my, headstone. He talked a lot. But since you guys are here tonight with us, we thought that we play a little bit of game that has a little bit to do about writing. And so we're a silly show, and we thought, what better way to include some silliness into our show with writers than to have some fun with Mad Libs.
Okay.
So these are science fiction and superhero based Mad Libs. I'm going to ask you guys, and we'll have you guys go one at a time. And I'm going to ask you for whatever it is that they ask for on the sheet. You'll tell me what it is, and then we'll read the Mad Lib back and see what kind of silliness we get into. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what Mad Libs is. This may not be a British thing.
Oh,
Okay.
It's
All
an
right.
American. It's an American word game thing.
Right. How does one play Mad Libs?
So how we do it is there's a story that they've written, and this first one has 11 empty spaces. And I will ask you for a name, an adjective, a verb, a silly sound or word. And so you just tell me the first thing that pops into your head when I ask for whatever it is.
Gotcha.
And then when you're done, I fill in all the spots, and we go back and we read it over to see exactly how silly of a story we have written up based on what the Mad Lib told us to do. Okay.
Good
David,
American.
you want to go first, or would you like to let our British friend go first?
I can go first, and then go on.
All right, you're going to show him how it's done. All right, I like this. Let's do it. All right, so this first one is about Star Wars. So for space number 1, I need a name.
Harold.
Okay. Space number 2, I need an adjective.
Dainty.
I like it.
All right. For space number 3, David, I need a verb.
Swam.
All right. Number 4, I need a silly word, Mitch.
Oh, hang on. Spigot.
That is a good word.
I like it. All right. Number 5, David, I need a noun.
City.
Yeah. All right. The 6th one, I need a plural noun, Mitch.
Bricks.
Okay. The 7th one, we need a David, I need a verb that ends in ed.
Edited.
Okay. Seems appropriate for our conversation so far tonight. All right, Mitch, need another verb? Just a regular old verb.
Triangulate.
All right, and I need Mitch, I need another. No, let's go back to David. David, I need another verb with ed. You are the ed verb guy, apparently.
Exalted.
Ooh.
Oh, there you go.
Triangular.
All right.
This is.
All right, and Mitch, I need one more regular verb.
Paraphrase.
All right, and David, last one. I need an adjective.
Bright.
Okay. Here we go. Let's see how good, bad, or indifferent we did with this. All right. Darth Harold looked at his master while his dainty breathing filled the room. He was told to go swim everything of the planet Spigot. He got into his city and jumped to hyperspace. Soon before he reached the planet, he dropped out of hyperspace and was attacked by rebel bricks. He edited them off and continued to the planet's surface. He landed and confronted more opposition, slicing it down with his triangulate, and he used the paraphrase to choke another rebel, then exalted him aside. He finished off all life on the planet with a bright laugh.
Oh, the stories of Darth Harold.
Still better than Rise of Skywalker.
True story.
I find that a bit hurtful.
Makes more sense than Rise of Skywalker.
It doesn't sort of spend half its running time trying to undo somebody else's Mad Lib.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not wrong about that.
Trying to retcon somebody else's Mad Lib.
I stopped paying.
Total waste of 2 movies.
I stopped paying attention after the first 3. So
Yeah. No, you're very well. Thing is, Force Awakens was great. It has the problem is it nothing about it surprises you because it consists entirely of story beats from Star Wars and Empire. Other than that, it's a great fun. Last Jedi, I know why people didn't like it, and I also know why they're all wrong. But Rise of Skywalker, it's just look. If you're going to give Rian Johnson complete carte blanche to do whatever he wants with his movie, then haven't you essentially obliged yourself to respect whatever he does in his movie when you come to do the next movie? But instead of that, they literally waste half the runtime of Rise of Skywalker undoing everything either ignoring or dismantling everything Rian Johnson put into The Last Jedi. And it just, I don't know, it feels like, considering he's meant to be such a control freak, it feels like, did JJ actually read the script of Last Jedi before it went into production? Because if you don't like any of Rian Johnson's ideas, the time to tell him is when he's written it, not after you've spent $200 million making it. That's the time at which you say, actually, Ryan, we don't think we're going to do any of this.
Unfortunately, you're not wrong.
Screenplay in.
You're not wrong.
Bizarre. Utterly bizarre.
One thing I find interesting of people talking about these ongoing developments in the franchises, they talk about it as if, it's almost like they're talking about the Star Wars, Star Trek debate. It's almost like saying that Nietzsche was a better philosopher than Heidegger.
Yeah.
And I try to do the all Star Wars is Star Wars and Star Wars is valid, except for 9. 9 is not Star Wars.
So for me, I find points in each that I like. There are things of each movie that I don't like. I'm an old true blue Star Wars fan, and I've often said in these shows that Star Wars is like my marriage. It's been there for me, good times and bad, sickness and in health. It's always there. Well, Empire Strikes Back is still my all-time favorite movie.
Oh, totally.
Will always be my all-time favorite movie. And I've openly said too, there have been times when I hated The Last Jedi when it first came out. Absolutely despised it. I've actually grown to like the movie. And the more I watch it, the more I like it. There's a lot of really strong storytelling components to that movie. Not only between that and the way it was shot, it's actually quite a good movie. However, with all that being said, I still don't like that they marry Poppins and Leia back into the ship.
No.
That's always going to be a problem for me. And I will never like the fact that Luke was the Onceler from the Lorax. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Come back tomorrow, I'll tell you more about the Force. So,
Which, he did kind of learn from Yoda.
Well, this is it. It's like it's sort of becoming a miserable old hermit living in a planet the arse end of nowhere seems to be fairly much the standard play when things go wrong for a Jedi. It's not like it was entirely unprecedented, but I don't know.
Right.
The thing is, for me, it's not a point of the respective merits of the movie. To me, it's just a really weird way of going about doing a trilogy. To say to somebody because I know originally it's meant to be 3 different guys. I know originally Part 9 was meant to be Colin Trevorrow, and then they fired Colin Trevorrow when that kids movie came out, died on its ring, and so so JJ comes back in to take over part of it. But it's just a really chaotic way of doing a trilogy. It's just. If you're going to give somebody else carte blanche to do whatever he wants with part 2, then you presumably, like I say, as far as I'm concerned, you've obliged yourself to go with whatever he introduces for part 2, whether you're in the right part 3. It's just really bizarre to come back in and write part 3 and go, actually, no, forget all of that.
Right. If you're going to do it as a group project, do it as a group project.
Yeah.
Well,
it just feels really sloppy on a kind of a production level.
Right.
It just feels really sort of half-assed on that kind of. But when you consider that, like I say, these are $500 million projects, it just feels like a really weirdly half-assed way to go about doing it. And like I say, if you decided you didn't like any of Ryan's ideas, which I know a lot of people didn't, I did. I really like the idea that basically the Jedi are busted flush, and what we're waiting for is the next generation of Force-sensitive warriors, hence Broom Kid. You know what I mean? I really like the idea that, forget about the Jedi. We need to find something new. I really love that idea. I actually, because, all over the Twitter just for the last few days has been somebody saying, oh my God, as a joke a few months ago, I said, so they're going to give Cruella de Vil a tragic backstory where her parents are killed by Dalmatians, aren't they? And that's in the new movie. It's something which somebody said as a joke. I actually said just before Last Jedi came out.
I wondered why she hated Dalmatians.
Yeah, well, this is it. But it's like everybody's got to have a tragic backstory now.
Yeah,
but it's. I actually said, not as a joke, but just throwing something out there just before The Last Jedi came out. And I find the tweet, people want it. So it's back in like November 2017. So by far the most satisfying explanation for Rey's origins is that she's nobody. That she's nobody in particular. That her parents were a bunch of meth heads who sold it to Simon Pegg to pay off gambling debts, then went straight around to their dealers and their dealers and overdosed. You know what I mean? And that's why they never came back. And then, and because one of the things I liked about the notion of Jedi as proposed by the original trilogies, that it's some kind of standard of strength and purity to which anyone might aspire. And then in the prequel trilogy, they bring in midi-bloody chlorians, and suddenly it's something you're born with or you're not. So it goes from being a Buddhist notion to essentially almost being a fascist notion, And I really like the idea that no, it's something you can learn, and I actually said that, and then lo and behold, Adam Driver comes out and says almost exactly that word for word in Last Jedi. So it's not just that I was feeling vindicated. I was thinking, yes, that's the way to go with that character. She isn't the inheritor of a legacy. Just for once, we're not doing the stable boy premise.
Right.
Just for once, can we not do the stable? You know what the stable boy premise is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's maybe not do the stable boy premise in fantasy just one time. Can this person not be the inheritor of some vast dread legacy? Can she just be someone who finds themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time and has to find the wherewithal to get out of it? Can this not be all about destiny just once? But
no.
Anyway.
I've been dealing with this a little bit in the last few years in television animation and my bailiwick, because they were always doing it. Hanna-Barbera just sucked all the fun out of Scooby-Doo with the first 5 or 6 different versions of it. And Warner keeps making new ones.
Yeah.
But it's really frustrating when you see a show that was really a particular animator's vision.
Yeah.
Particular animator's style and substance, and they do the show without him.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the other thing is it's the original Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, as the show was called in its first, the one with that theme tune. It drips 1969. You know what I mean? It's just oozes 1969, and to me, it's so the fact that we have to keep bringing them back, but every time we bring them back, they're still all like 18, 19, and it's still now, whenever now is. So they did that kind of anime-looking one back in the noughties. You remember? And and it's and it's some of them are quite good fun, but to me, Scooby-Doo is. Seeing that original series, it's very much a kind of not a relic of its time, but it's it's an example of its time. It's
You
very
have
much
to-
of its time.
You really have to. One of the things that I wrote about in my nonfiction books, you have to really, well, take it serious animation seriously. Sometimes it's a bit redundant, but it's important to understand when the thing was produced.
Yeah,
It has
absolutely.
very obvious signs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I don't understand about people getting upset about really old animation that was made before they were born, and calling it out for racist, sexist stuff. They don't understand that the goalposts were in a different.
Of course,
Right, it was a different time.
But it is fantastically tense when you're sitting there with your kids. Like, an old Warner Brothers from the 40s comes on the TV for whatever reason, and you're just sitting there waiting for something racist to happen. It's coming any minute now. It's coming.
They've kind of pulled the really bad stuff off.
I even think about.
I would like Bob Clampett and Warner. He did a complete blackface version of Snow White called Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs, and
Right.
I know it exists because people keep talking about it, but I've never seen it because nobody's nobody in their right mind's going to show it.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to see that anymore.
It's this is the thing. Ultimately, these things don't get banned. It's just that nobody feels comfortable showing them anymore. I mean, there's the lost Peter Sellers movie, The Party, made in the late '60s, made by Blake Edwards, who did the Pink Panther movies.
Yeah.
In which Peter Sellers plays a hapless Indian movie star who accidentally gets invited to the swankiest party in Hollywood. And I have seen it. It was shown on British TV once in the 80s, I think, with literally warning labels all over it. Because it is actually a very funny movie, but the whole movie is Peter Sellers doing the comedy Indian, and it's just like, oh God, you know what I mean? It's really cringy to it. But the funny thing is, it's because we used to
remake that, but they could remake it, but they would have to cast an actual East Indian guy in the lead.
Well, I mean, they just get Dev Patel, I mean, he'd nail it, or Riz Ahmed, get that, because we actually now have, in Indian and subcontinental origin leading men in a way that you didn't in the 60s unless you were actually in India. So, but the funny thing is, that kind of bar with regards to what counts as unacceptably racist, it's still moving, but it's not. Certain racial stereotypes became unacceptable before other ones did.
Yeah.
And they don't all become unacceptable to the same degree in the same place. For example, it's only really in the last couple of years that The Simpsons has confronted the issue. Is it really okay having Hank Azaria doing the what's the Indian shopkeeper called?
Apu.
Doing the Apu voice. Is it really okay that Apu is Hank Azaria doing the Peter Sellers comedy Indian voice?
Actually, with both of them, so
yeah.
It really like.
Well, the funny thing is though, like I say, go on. Sorry.
One of the things that I really admire about Peter Sellers was his versatility. That he could do all of these, he could play all these different type of people and pull it off because he knew what the accent sounded like. He knew the mannerisms, and he was able to speak in such a way that you were convinced that he was East Indian or Italian or French or whatever when he wasn't. Hank Azaria is an extremely versatile actor, and particularly a voice actor, and he doesn't always get a lot of credit for doing the voice so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think anyone's disputing whether he does the voice well. I think people are disputing whether or not it's that, because here's the thing. I mean, one of the funniest things.
It used to
I'm
be
getting to
very
the age
common.
now. I look back upon, my generation when we were kids in the 80s and how right on we thought we were. We thought we were as hip and enlightened as the human race was ever going to get. We thought we had attained total, right on Nirvana. Totally, I mean, the word woke wasn't going to be coined for another 30 years, but we thought we had attained maximum wokeness by literally like 1986. You know what I mean? We thought that's it. We've made all the social progress that will ever be made. You know,
I was
so
6
calm
years
down,
old
love, and make us a
then.
cup of tea. You know, and it's extraordinary how right on we weren't. In retrospect, this is a constant ongoing process. You know.
Oh, hold on a second. John says, going back a moment, instead of the stable boy, why can't the chosen one be a middle-aged person with kids who wants to wrap up the prophecy and get on with their lives?
Sounds like a great book, John. Go write it.
It's like J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter play.
Yes. Yeah. What is that one?
What a cursed child.
The Cursed Child.
Yeah, a
Yes.
friend of mine's in it. I haven't seen it. But the friend of mine who's in The Cursed Child, right, is an old university buddy of mine. His acting name is not his real name. It's David Mara. And to my utter joy, when I sat down to watch the 4-hour Snyder Cut, found out that he'd been edited back into it.
Oh.
He's the truck driver who nearly kills Iris West. Have you seen the 4-hour?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the truck driver who nearly kills Iris West is an old university buddy of mine from the University of Edinburgh called David Mara. Yeah. You do that, John. And he had no idea. He remembered filming it back in 2016 or something. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know that he wasn't in the theatrical, the Joss Whedon cut, nor did he know that he'd been put back into the Snyder cut. So I messaged him on Facebook. Well, guess who just got edited back into Justice League?
Oh, that's cool.
If they can edit out the mustache, they can edit people back in.
Absolutely, yeah.
Eventually, there's going to be more different cuts of that movie than there was a Blade Runner. That was.
Are we going to have the Blade Runner conversation?
When I first heard about, it's a fairly recent phenomenon for the producer and the director have different cuts.
That's not a recent phenomenon. What's a recent phenomenon is getting to see the alternative cuts. You go back to stuff like everything Orson Welles did after Citizen Kane got butchered, but the point is we never got to see his versions.
Studio system, in the studio system, the directors were the employees and the producers were the bosses. So
but that's what's new. It's not that the movies are existing in different versions. What is new, or what really started with the release of the director's cut of Blade Runner in '92, is that we are getting to see the different versions. That's what's new. I'm
all for the different versions of whatever gets me less Jared Leto on the screen. I'm all for it.
And also, I think it's
you hurt my emo heart.
He's the same age as me. Can you believe that? Anyway.
Started with Andrew Saris in the 70s talking about the director as auteur.
Yeah.
It's really, that's when the director started to be taken seriously. And that's when you start seeing people talking seriously about what John Ford did, Orson Welles, Alfred Hitchcock.
The auteur theory kind of came in through Kaiju cinema out of France, didn't it? In the 60s. But
Truffaut and Godard and
what I think has started happening in the 80s.
Those guys were critics before they started making movies, so they understood what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They said, "I've seen enough movies now that I know how to make one of my own," and they started making their own flicks.
Exactly. But I think one of the differences that is with the sort of the 80s into the 90s, when you start to have directors of mainstream movies who acquire the kind of personal profile that they can start to swing their weight about a bit. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that Ridley Scott after Blade Runner, if anything, only is enhanced his reputation. The weird thing is, are we going to have the damn? I always end up talking about Blade Runner every interview I ever do. Because I am weirdly, I'm actually a bit weird about Blade Runner.
But it's just I don't like it. I understand. I've spent a long time studying the history of show business. Mm-hmm. All its form. It's very fat. It's a fascinating and treacherous an area of
absolutely
of study as the Roman Empire, medieval England, or something like that. Because there's the same sort of almost betrayals and
the same degree of brutality.
I can add a level to the Blade Runner conversation.
Oh, let's have it.
tyranny.
I've never seen it.
Okay. All right. Show of hands. The other three of us. All right. Let's get one vote each. Which version of Blade Runner should Kathleen see if she's going to go see it?
You have to start with the original. You got to start with the original. It's not even up for discussion.
1982 theatrical? 1982 theatrical cut, yeah? Which version of the original of the first movie? 82 theatrical cut, 92 director's cut, or 2007 final cut? Which of those do you think Kathleen
I think you watch them. I think you watch them in order. I think you start with the original and you work your way through. It's the same way that I did it with Star Wars. I mean, you watch the original with the Lucas. See, for you, everything goes Blade Runner. For me, everything goes Star Wars.
Right.
So David, I watch the originals and then work my way through the Lucas rehashes.
But it's the first movie exists in three distinctly different versions, all of which are available at any given time. There is the 1982 theatrical cut with the voiceover and the happy ending and no unicorn. There is
you should be read Do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep by Phil.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, you could start with the source novel.
Okay.
But
although it doesn't like.
But the thing is, the first movie
has never really been done accurately in the movies. He said
no,
done it a couple of times, but they really they changed the name because they thought Total Recall was better than We Can Remember It for You Wholesale, even though the story title for me sounds a lot better.
Well, think about and they just did it again with The Man in the High Castle. Obviously, think about. I mean, has there ever been a faithful Philip K. Dick adaptation, like a really faithful? I don't think he's just so trippy.
They're not.
He's just so trippy. If you threw everything from one of Philip K. Dick's books at the screen, I think audiences might have difficulty taking it seriously because he's so trippy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's always kind of been a problem with Hollywood. Isaac Asimov once was one.
So the comment that Tim had up on the screen.
Yeah.
The last one of John claiming he does not know this woman.
Okay.
He's been married to me for 6.5 years and hasn't said I should watch the movie.
All right. Well, look. Okay, I will put my oar in right now. Think about the first movie. It exists in three substantially different versions. There's also a couple of minorly different versions. Like there was a work print which came out before it was released. Don't worry about that. That doesn't really count as a version. It's been officially released in three different versions. There's the original 1982 theatrical cut. There was the 1992 director's cut, and there's the 2007 final cut.
They're all part of the DVD set.
Yeah, if you get the DVD box, but the thing is, it used to be that the original version was actually really difficult to get hold of. It's actually far easier to get hold of now than it was. I mean, I think you can actually get the original version on various streaming and download services. But the thing is, I'm a bit of an outlier in that not only do I like the 1982 theatrical cut best, it's I actively dislike the two more recent versions.
Okay.
Because they throw in without spoiling it for Kathleen, it introduces the mythical beast and the subsequent is he or isn't he dilemma.
Okay.
Right.
Which is total BS and wasn't in the movie when they made it. And to my mind, if you start... The one thing I really liked, there was lots of things I really liked about Blade Runner 2049. I like the way that it got around the fact that time had almost caught up to the first movie by the time they did the sequel. Because obviously the 2019 that was presented in Blade Runner was patently not coming by 2017. So what it is it's set in an alternate timeline, and it's set 30 years after that rather than 32 years after this,
Always a problem with science fiction. Sometimes, but you can never the thing about it is that we don't know exactly what the future is going to be. Every time in science fiction, all of a sudden in the future, it's somebody making educated guesses.
Oh yeah,
right. Where's my hoverboard?
Most of the sci-fi which put a definitive date, a lot of the sci-fi which had a definitive date stamp as to when it was set that I grew up with has now happened. Escape from New York was set in 1997. New York was set 24 years ago. And
you have to remember the year in which it was produced.
1981. Yeah. Blade Runner was set in
The Jetsons is produced in the early 1960s.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, so as I said in my book about America Tunes In, I said it was what the future was thought to be like in 1962, not what the future is thought to be like now.
Oh, well, I mean, one of the things about Blade Runner, though, weirdly, is it irrevocably altered what we thought the future was going to look like, to the point where when people depict the future now, despite the fact it's 40 years later, they still do Blade Runner. You know, Altered Carbon on Netflix is presenting its future and it's Blade Runner again. You know, it was such a persuasive idea of what the future was going to look like that it's very, particularly trying to do any kind of urban future. It's very difficult to depict.
Utopia smells better than Utopia in a lot of ways.
Right. All right, guys. Hey, we're going to be running short on time here in just a moment. Ooh. So what I want to do is I promise you that we give you guys some time to talk about your books, where people can find them and find out more about you. So if you don't mind, David, would you like to start? Tell people approximately how many books have you written, where they can find them, and if they want to follow you on social media, where to track you down at.
Okay. I'll try and make it as condensed as possible since we're out of time.
Sure.
I have 2 nonfiction books: America Tunes In: History of Television Animation from McFarland and Company.
Okay.
And Encyclopedia of American Animated Television Shows. They're both available on Amazon from their respective publishers, McFarland and Company for the first one and Roman Littlefield for the second.
Okay.
Now, my fiction books, they're all self-published because I wasn't able to find a reputable publisher for a while before I discovered the joys of self-publishing. They're on Amazon, Smashwords, Drafted Digital, and eBook Lingo, and a lot of other. So I have a short story collection and a intro novella about my series character Jefferson Ball.
Okay.
Who is I guess kind of a parody of the traditional feminine heroine in sci-fi, fantasy, and animation.
All right.
Extremely physically powerful, but not entirely up there.
I resemble that remark.
Well, that's why she had to have a companion. Her companion, Hamilton Pomeranian, is much physically smaller, more compact, but she's considered to be more intelligent.
Okay.
And you know that pairing was basically I'm a big Rocky and Bullwinkle fan. I love the early Hanna-Barbera shows, and even with some of the more recent stuff, I Wander Over Yonder. There's that kind of disparity dynamic going on. So that was what I was going with those. There's 2 books. Singular Adventures of Jefferson Ball is a collection of various short stories over time that I published.
And then you have social media people can follow you on?
Yes. Yeah, I'm on most of the social media. So I have Facebook, Facebook, you follow me, DK Perlmutter or David K. Perlmutter and Friends. Twitter, I'm at David Perlmutt 10. And there are 9 other David Perlmutters, I guess, that I need to. And a lot of my more recent stories and essays have been published on Medium, so you could follow me on there if you're into that.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, David. All right, Mitch.
Okay, over the years I've contributed to various non-fiction books, but screw that because I don't get any money for those. So let's talk about the sci-fi. All right.
Go to the ones that get you money.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the sci-fi. Out now, finally complete in its completeness is the Terror trilogy. Book 1 is called Terror. Book 2 is called Terror's World. Book 3 is called Terror's War. All right. These are the story of a human child who is abducted by well-meaning aliens and then is adopted and raised on another world as their own. It's sort of a well-meaning but bumbling alien finds what he thinks is an abandoned baby on Earth and takes it away and adopts it. So it's about a human child being raised on another planet. That's the premise. It all kicks off from that. So book 1 is almost kind of a coming-of-age story, which happens to be placed on another planet in which only one of the main characters is human. Book 2 is a bit more of a rollicking adventure, and by the time you get to book 3, you're up to proper sort of mind-bending, questioning the nature of reality, Arthur C. Clarke stuff. Okay, which was kind of always the plan. I wanted to sort of radically up the stakes every time. And so Terror's War is the third in the trilogy that's out. They are currently in ebook form. They have been on stuff like Draft to Digital, Apple Books, and everything, and will be again. But they're just at the moment, the ebooks are only on Amazon because I'm giving it a go on Kindle Unlimited, where people have like a Kindle subscription can get to read them for free. They're on Kindle Unlimited for the next couple of months. So right now, if you want the ebooks, the only place you can get the ebooks is on Amazon/Kindle. That will change back again probably the end of the summer. You can get the paperbacks from Amazon and also from Lulu.com is the other place doing those. And I am the easiest guy in the world to find online. My name is Mitch, M-I-T-C-H, Benn, B-E-N-N, and you put that into any social media platform, and if I'm on there, that's what I'm called. I am
Fair
Mitch
enough.
Benn on Twitter. I am Mitch Benn on Facebook. I don't do a lot on Instagram, but that's who I am on Instagram. You know? I'm the easiest guy. I like to be approachable, although it does mean you get approached. But
that's the hard part with being approachable.
But they
Kind of
are
the catch-22 of it all.
Yeah, because this time around, and you know, if you like, I mean, you know, one day I might tell you the long and painful story of, you know, my 6-year trek to try and get these books back out into the wild after it all fell through with my original publishers. Whom I bear no ill will, by the way. They did what they had to do, but it still left me in a bizarre situation. And then I signed up with this high-powered literary agent, and that seemed to make everything infinitely worse. And then,
fair enough.
And it was my girlfriend, actually, literally, almost not metaphorically, kicked my ass about this time last year and said, you know, I've known you for 4 years and you spent the whole time whinging about the fact that you can't get these books back out. Have you looked into what, you know, because I suppose because the first 2 books were legit published, I was a bit sort of hesitant about the whole putting them back out there thing. It kind of felt like an admission of defeat or something. But she, because my girlfriend's background is in marketing, she did some research and said, look, if we put in a fair bit of work and spend a bit of money, we can put these books out to exactly the same standard as if they're being put up by a reputable publishers. So from the point of view of the reader and the buyer, the experience will be indistinguishable.
Yeah, self-publishing is not what it used to be.
It's a completely different beast. Completely different.
That's what I need for my fiction, because I've been totally DIYing it this whole time.
Well, for what it's worth, my girlfriend Leslie is currently overseeing the marketing for another indie publisher. So give us an email via the guys, and I'll see what her schedule's like. Because she's been transformative in this whole process. She really has. Leslie, she's been amazing. Really, kicked me back into gear. And I'm loving the new. I mean, you know, I got the artwork. I was never that happy with the artwork of the old editions. I love the artwork on the new editions. They've got a real old school, almost pulpy kind of sci-fi look to them, you know. And my new novel, which I'm currently working on, which I hope to have out by the end of the year, is a dystopian YA fantasy called Rome, the City That Walks. That's ROAM, the City That Walks. And that will be out hopefully this November.
All right.
That's all I really want to say about that.
All right,
It's got
excellent.
nothing to do with the trilogy. It's a completely different story. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
All right, guys, we got just a couple seconds left before we can get out of here. So first off, want to thank you guys both, David and Mitch. Thank you so much for being on tonight and chatting it up with us and being a little silly with us. We always appreciate that. And then next week, guys, same time, same bat channel. Want to make sure you guys come back, and we're going to have a very Star Wars centric episode next week with Matt Man from TikTok, and we're also going to have our very first interview that we ever aired with Captain Rex. Captain Rex will be here on screen next week, and we'll be talking some Star Wars with those guys. So thanks to everyone, and thanks for being here.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of Funny Science Fiction, we'd like to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on one of our future episodes, please contact us by means of our Facebook group, Funny Science Fiction. You can find us on Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FunnySciFi, or you can go to DraytonAllen.com and click the Contact Me link at the bottom of the page. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the episode.